in Arizona just this week, and I don't know if Ernie wants to say a few words about what it was like to hang out with Jordan and the crowds that, just before we start digging into all the issues, kind of like what the vibe is on the ground, how the crowds are responding, you know, to Ron Paul this time around, because you've been around for a while around the political sphere. So tell us, so how's it going in Arizona? We have Arizona primary coming up on Tuesday, of course, and let us know what's going on out there.
Oh, we're still in the afterglow of Jordan Page. I mean, you know, it's when Jordan comes, you know, it just makes everybody feel a lot better. And he's such a positive influence on not just me, but my family. I mean, he's good friends with some of my children. They enjoy that he's here. They always carve out some time with him and want to pick him up or take him to the airport and so on, and we have dinner. And then we had Thursday night, the day after the event for the activists, we had a private party here to where we plugged him in. You know, Jordan always wants to be plugged in, so we got him all hooked up, big, you know, PA, and he was plugged in, and everybody just sat and listened to him just like it was, you know, the old folks singing day back in the 60s and 70s. This is, you know, I'm old enough at 50 to have, even as a small child, to have remembered the news, because when you watch the news back then, it was like 3 networks, and it was the same 5 stories on all of them. And you really, the entire country experienced the same thing at the same time. It's like when they would have a mini-series like Roots or something, you're talking about it in school, everybody the next day. Well, now that doesn't happen as much, except with things like Dr. Paul. And when you have someone that represents an entire generation next, like no one else can, then you have a common shared understanding of a common revolution. And like Dr. Paul said, you got to have youth and you got to have music, and Jordan represents both. And it's really a pleasure to just hang out with them. And we have, you know, deep philosophical late night discussions, and, you know, neither of us get any sleep. So it's we're planning for the future. And he has young children, and now I have young grandchildren. And the difference is, I was concerned, you know, from the end of the 08 cycle to going into the 12, that there was going to be way too much emphasis on actually the political process itself. And my concern in 08, I didn't really worry about it that much. A lot of the people around me, the people that had their fill of politics, they were concerned that I was going to be part of getting the people to think that there was some kind of a political solution, that they were going to be able to vote themselves free. And I knew that once they got exposed to it a little bit, what was going to happen is that they were going to see how messed up it was. And then going into the 12 cycle, would they feel that, yes, maybe we can do it this time? Well, I think what's happening is that we're overwhelming the process. That, yes, there is a mechanism by which we are having an input where we are going. I'm getting an echo. You guys hear me okay? You got me all right? Nod your head, because I'm not here seeing you. Okay, cool. Now, what we were worried about is that people would, keep trying to use the political process to change the culture, instead of realizing it was the opposite, is that they change themselves and they advocate for what they know is right with no compromise, not playing politics, not trading off anything, and that all of a sudden the culture would change the politics. Well, that happened a little sooner than I anticipated in this election cycle. No matter how much they try, even in spite of them trying, because of them trying to diminish Ron Paul's effectiveness, what's happened is the culture itself has changed politics. And you got all the news channels, everybody, they're doing everything they can to try and diminish the effect that Ron Paul and his supporters have had on the planet. I don't think they know what to do. I really don't. They're going to have to do something crazy and stupid because they're in a corner.
I mean, you have the natural energy that's been generated by the Ron Paul movement, which has been around, since 2007, 2008. But now couple that with, a little bit more sophistication on the political level, and I think you have a combination that's not going to be able to be beat.
Well, I tell you what my concern is people start with even a state win or doing well or showing well that they think, hey, man, we got a beat on this political process. We're going to dominate. We can take it over. We can win. We're going to fix the Republican Party. And they don't really understand that, in the end, they got all the dials and they can do, that's why I always said over the years, I'm going, hey, man, Golden Gate Bridge, St. Louis Arch, toast. I mean, they'll do something. It'll be any and everything to try and maintain the status quo. But I don't think that they really fully understand what we understand. It's already over. The culture shift has already started.
Right. It's the horse is out of the barn
right.
on these ideas, and there's no putting it back in at this point.
Well, and it's manifest in so many ways. And a lot of it is the music, and Jordan Page has been so representative and a leader in a lot of other people that have, we had a band here, it's Property 6 is a local band, and they were one of the first, when we first started the Revolution in March of 2007. I mean, this is before Ron even announced he was going to actually really run. They and their followers had already been putting up signs. I remember I didn't know that they were well known until we were out putting up signs and people were honking, Property 6, Property 6. And then now we get them all the signs and Slim Jims and everything that they can handle, and they just pass them out all the time. Well, I wanted to make sure they met with Jordan, and they got to know each other, and I think they made a quick friendship, and there's going to be a future that we're going to be doing stuff here in the next month or two. We're going to bring Jordan back out, and we're going to rock it out. Because I think
Jordan's ready for that. He's ready to rock out at any point in time, it seems like.
You give him some
but
amplification.
Let me ask you, you've run for office.
I'm sorry?
I understand the frustration with the political process, but I think it is a good vehicle to get these ideas out there because that's kind of when the public's paying attention. So what would you say about that? I mean, what's your experience?
I use the political process a lot.
On many levels.
I use it a lot. I haven't voted since 2002, but I ran for United States Senate against John McCain in 2004, Secretary of State in 2006, County Recorder in 2008. I mean, I've run for Congress 3 times, Secretary of State twice, state legislature. I use the political process like you wouldn't believe. I am all about for the few months that everybody's really paying attention, and you get to be up on the forum slapping these guys around. Don't ever think I don't make use of the political process. I mean, what do you think this revolution thing was all about? The reason that I do that is because it is a very effective way of getting a message out. But I vote every time I put up a sign. I vote every time I advocate for the message of Dr. Paul. I vote a lot. So somebody, if they think that they're doing their part by just going up and, flipping, touching a government-controlled computer screen and think that's their expression, then they haven't understood what's really going on. If you think voting's going to make you free, you have not been paying attention. Now, that doesn't mean, vote, don't vote, I don't care. That's not the point. My point is that I am not going to rely on a government-controlled or party-controlled computer printout, or even a caucus that they just put up a number, whatever what? Have you been paying attention this election cycle? I mean, that is not where the change comes from. It comes from the people going, oh man, I so know you guys are lying, cheating, sacks of snot. That is where, and the YouTubes and the people on the street. In Mesa, it was about a half mile away where the church was in the event, which was packed out. I mean, it was standing room only in the lobby, in another room. It was just packed. And of course, Jordan feeds off that, man. He loves that stuff. So he was having a good old time rocking them out. Ron came, gave a speech, left. It was good. Everybody was satisfied, happy, had an after party, partying. We were selling silver dimes there and having a good old time. And what happened is that on the way from the debate to that place, the entire way, him driving was lined with people with Ron Paul signs. On 3 sides around the event, it was saturated Ron Paul. They even had of the 80-foot sign, it broke down on the back. It had 4 20-foot Ron Paul 2012 signs. they confiscated them. Anybody holding a sign above their chest, if it's where the TV cameras could see it, they put you in the free speech zone. They threatened to arrest you. On the fourth side, where the candidates came in and out, there was nobody allowed there. The reason is because Mesa is heavily dominated Mormon. This is a Mitt Romney thing, and they did everything they could to diminish the presence of the supporters of Ron Paul. Everything they could. And when you look inside, even little blips that you'd see, of course you'd see mostly Ron Paul or, frothy Santorum signs or something like that. But other than that, I know, I couldn't believe that guy got in there. That was good. So, what happens is that you have all these people that are expressing themselves, and the media and the political establishment and the city of Mesa and the police and everybody did everything they could to diminish our presence, and we still overwhelm them, and they know it. It's all perception. Like, perception is reality. There's this battle of they control the media. Well, we control the minds of anybody that wants to pay attention. By them, they just go to the internet and say, hey, man, just tell me the truth. Boom, shakalaka, it's there. And we were live streaming it, and anybody that wants to know what's really going on, I'm having on my show Wednesday a very good mentor of mine. He was one of my Bible study teachers back when we first started having children in the late 80s, and he continually calls me every election cycle, every 2 years. He's very concerned about the country. He's a man's man. He's retired now. He's a good guy. 3 hours, I'm going to have him on the show just curing him as an example of all of the pablum and all of the psyop that he's getting from Fox News is not the truth. And the truth is chronicled forever. Even after this election cycle, it is going to be there for Generation Next to know what happened and why. And it's branded in things like the music, in the YouTubes, in the artwork, in the things like Adam is doing, all the stuff that and a lot of us activists have been around for a long time. There was never a doubt in our mind that this was coming. And it's why you could count on Dr. Paul being so consistent, because there was never a doubt in his mind. I'm just glad he was at the end of his career that he got to enjoy this. I can't imagine. You know what I really enjoy some of the interviews that they did with Carol Paul. They're talking to her. She's, you don't do this unless you got the support of your wife. And she's very supportive. You
can tell that Dr. Paul is so enjoying his time right now. It's like 30 years in the making, and he's really. But can you tell us a little bit? We have to wrap up here. We have to wrap up here in just 1 second, but can you tell us a little bit about Freedom's Phoenix and what people will experience when they visit your website?
Freedom's Phoenix was done in a true libertarian style. We were going to, we edit it. We make sure it's not, stupid people ad hominem, ouch, quit it crap, but we allow everybody to have their say. We have a lot from the left, the Raw Story and the Talking Point Memo and Daily Cause or whatever, let them have their say. These people, different writers, they want to write for us. We got our left people. Then we got our right people. We got the people that are heavy duty on immigration. And the reason we did that is we wanted them to bring their audience to Freedom's Phoenix so that we could infect them, brush their cortex with the libertarian infection, the injection into the bone marrow of the libertarian infection for which there is no cure. They get a dose of Dr. Paul.
That is fantastic. I look forward to reading your website more and hearing more about what happens out there in Arizona on Tuesday. It's going to be very exciting, and I know Jordan cannot wait.
We love you, Ernie.
Back in Arizona.
Thanks. That we're all aglow from Jordan Page Vintage. We love you too, brother. Thanks, guys.
All right, folks.